Welcome to the Robotics Through Science Fiction podcast. I'm Robin Murphy, and today I'll review the 2018 Hugo Award winners and nominees that involved robots, or what we're calling the RoboHugos. The Hugo Awards have been around since 1953. They're named after the publisher Hugo Gernsback, who's considered the father of magazine science fiction, or perhaps more correctly, of really good pulp fiction back in the day. Hugos are selected by fans who pay money to register for the annual Worldcon, whereas the other big science fiction awards, the Nebulas, are voted on by members of the Writers Guild. The Hugos and the Nebulas are a lot like those at the movie reviews with Siskel and Ebert. The Hugos would be for the more popular eat a lot of popcorn movies that Roger Ebert liked, and the Nebulas are for the more intellectual or foreign films that Gene Siskel would like. There's often overlap between the nominees, of course, and really great work wins both awards. In 2018, there were 6 nominees in 4 categories that were robot-themed or had robots playing a pivotal, though perhaps subtle part. 2 won, All Systems Red for Best Novella. It also won the Nebula, and The Secret Life of Bots for Best Novelette. Here's a quick review of those nominees, dubbed the RoboHugos, and most of the stories are available for free online, though of course the publishers are hoping you'll subscribe. What's particularly interesting is that 5 of the 6 of the nominees and both of the winners were written by women. Female robots typically fall into 9 stereotypes that generally reflect society's perception of women: femme fatale, sexy killer robot, sexy good wife, shrew, muse, ingenue, damsel in distress, robot maid, and ronin. But based on real life, maybe there'll be a 10th category of female robots in the future: kick-ass writers. So, Best Novel. There were only 2 nominees for Best Novel that involved robots this year: Provenance, Anne Leckie's follow-up to her Ancillary Justice series, and Raven's Stratagem, the second in Yunha Lee's Machineries of Empire series. The use of robotics in Provenance was much more plausible and detailed, so Provenance gets my vote as the RoboHugo Best Novel. Provenance is an enjoyable standalone suspense novel set in the Imperial Raditz universe Leckie created in Ancillary Justice. The book channels Alfred Hitchcock as we try to figure out who's teleoperating what robot, when, and why. Like classic Hitchcock movies, Rebecca, Suspicion, Notorious immediately come to mind, the book features an insecure ingenue, in this case one who uncovers a major geopolitical scandal over fake antiquities. What if her planet's equivalent of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Liberty Bell were forgeries, and not particularly good ones? So you can see the full review that we've done here, but we also include an introduction to teleoperation. The other Best Novel nominee, Raven's Stratagem, is about what if a human civilization with a repressive class system was organized around a religious calendar and was fighting a mutated branch of humanity that made the biologicals in the Southern Reach trilogy look like puppy dogs and unicorns. Well, at that point you might break out the stored consciousness of one of your most successful but clearly insane generals who've been dead for 400 years. Raven's Stratagem is the second book in this world-building trilogy started by Nine Fox Gambit and ending with this year's Revenant Gun. The Machineries of Empire series needs to be read in order, with the first one much more on action and the second one much more on ruminations. But the ruminations do lead to a touching subplot with robot servitors. Raven's Stratagem is worth reading despite the relatively small robot cameo. Let's move on to Best Novella. There was 1 nominee and 1 win. And that was All Systems Red, the first in the delightful series about the snarkiest security robot ever made. Even better, there's 3 more novellas already out there, so you can enjoy All Systems Red by reading more of them. The first installment, All Systems Red, also won the 2017 Nebula. It's told from the viewpoint of the protagonist named Murderbot. Murderbot is not a serial killer as the name would suggest, but is a security robot who is transcendently shallow and superficial. Just like Hey You from The Wrong Unit, Murderbot is comically not thinking what you'd expect a robot to be thinking. But unlike Hey You, it doesn't delude itself about its relationship with humans. It openly hates interacting with them, maintaining a snarky inner dialogue. Imagine David Spade or Bruce Campbell as a bored robot mall guard. When Murderbot gains full autonomy through a bad software engineering patch, it doesn't try to lead a robot uprising as per the Alchemy Awards or numerous other books. It uses its freedom to surreptitiously spend its free time watching entertainment feeds and slacking off. Along the way, there's an opportunity to learn about software engineering and social influence, so check out our reviews for All System Red and for the next installment, Artificial Condition. Best Novelette. There was only one robot-themed nominee this year, The Secret Life of Bots, and it won hands down for its story of how the most spunky, lovable robot since R2-D2 saves the day using the most difficult type of reasoning for artificial intelligence, and that's analogical reasoning. The Secret Life of Bots is a clever space opera where the spunky little robot, and little as in all the robots are small to stay out of the way of the human crew and to be able to get into the infrastructure, and it saves the ship and Earth and probably all of humanity. At times a quest, a comedy, a monster to be overcome, and a rebirth story, The Secret Life of Bots always sustains a hard science fiction flavor, and it's a great introduction to analogical reasoning. It's a bit like Vinji's short story classic Longshot in my upcoming Robotics Through Science Fiction book, only with a quirky maintenance robot, and the ship also has a human crew. Although the plot sounds familiar, it's executed in a captivating way. Robot 9 is an older bot, but that doesn't mean it's not able to do its job. And just as the tale is an old tale, The Secret Life of Bots does its job by telling us that tale from a new perspective. See the review here, and Clark's World, the publisher, has a free online version, both print and audio. There were 2 robot-themed nominees for Best Short Story. One was the more traditional hard science fiction, the other a more fantasy-oriented one. Neither won, but Fandom for Robots is now one of my favorite robot stories of all times. So Fandom for Robots by Veena G. Min Prasad is what if a robot began to engage in social media about an entertainment feed about a robot, offering advice and encouragement? And what if the robot got dragged into helping with writing a fan fiction segment? Toss in some great characterizations of the science museum that the robot lives in, and you have the delightful Fandom from Robots. It's available at Uncanny Magazine. The other nominee for Best Story, Carnival 9 by Carolyn Joachim, is a whimsical story of the inner lives of a family of mechanical dolls spread across multiple toy trains. Other than being mechanical and dependent on mainstream, there's nothing particularly robotic about the troupe. Carnival 9 is reminiscent of the sentimental feel of The Mad Scientist's Daughter that we've also reviewed, but with more surprises. And it's available at the Beneath the Ceaseless Skies website. That's it for this year's RoboHugos. I look forward to hearing what you thought were the best in science fiction for 2018. And remember to subscribe to the Robotics Through Science Fiction YouTube channel and our newsletter so you won't miss a thing.